and welcome to Read.Watch.Play. We're your host. I'm Clifford Parmenter, and with me, Tony Cox. Welcome to another week of what we read in comics, what we watched, and of course, what we played, typically HeroClix. Tony, how was your week?
Well, thank you for asking, Cliff. My week was a little hectic, actually. On Monday, I went down... Well, there was an eclipse Monday, obviously. Mm-hmm. Did you watch the eclipse?
What eclipse? I don't know about the rest of you, but where I live, we saw nothing. It was like a mild shadow, and not even like those cool shadows that you saw in all those pictures on the internet. Nothing.
Wait,
it was.
I live where you live, and
you
I saw the.
You live an hour north. There was a huge difference.
If anything, it would have been worse for me.
Oh, worse of nothing. Yeah. It was like
67% covered.
It was like 4 minutes.
Did you have the glasses and watch?
I didn't even look up. I just looked up.
No, what that? Well, oh my gosh. Well, if you put the glasses on, you would have seen like there was a big giant black ball in front of the sun.
You want to know what was really
67.9% of the ball actually.
You know what's really funny is I ordered the lens for my SLR camera so I could take the pictures.
Yeah.
And it showed up this morning.
You'll be ready for 2024.
I'll be ready for 2024.
And we're going to have a good view of that one.
Yes.
I think we just have to drive a few hours north and then...
And it's going to be excellent. However, I saw the photos...
We'll be in totality.
Yeah. I saw the photos of people who were in totality, and they were remarkable. And it reminded me, because, of course, a lot of people in the news and on Facebook were like, oh, this is so stupid. Why do people care about an eclipse? And, I felt like it was stupid, too, especially because it was a letdown. Because I was just like, oh, look, it's like the slightest bit dark. Hold on. So, because I felt it was a letdown, all right? Then I saw these photos that these photographers had set up, and I realized that this is why we stop and we take a moment to enjoy natural phenomenons, because it was the photos were really magical and really captured this fantastic, interesting moment in time, and some people set their cameras so they could actually capture the eclipse across the sky. So I was impressed with that, and it reminded me that yes, 2024 I should be more on point. And hopefully slimmer. Just for my vanity.
Just for your vanity. Sure. So during the eclipse, I actually went to see the space where the Ultimate Comic Expo, the Ultimate Hudson Valley Comic Expo is going to be held.
At the Hudson Valley Civic Center in Poughkeepsie.
Yes. So we went and took a look at that place. We saw where we might be setting up. We just have to get confirmation that they can connect us to the internet and that they're okay with us up in the balcony space, and then...
Or hopefully you and I don't fall down.
We won't fall down. This is like up, like way up by the offices. So we'll be fine.
I'm being a jerk.
So it's Monday? No, it's Wednesday.
What is?
It's Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday.
Right.
Today is Wednesday, right? Absolutely. New comics today.
No, the eclipse was on Monday. That's right.
The eclipse was on... No, the eclipse was yesterday.
No, the eclipse was Monday.
What did I do yesterday? Oh, yeah, the eclipse was... I guess the eclipse was Monday. Oh, yeah, yesterday I bought comics. I went to hunt down comics. That was fun. So I guess the comic store.
Welcome to Cliff and Tony review celestial events.
We call it Star Walk.
Star Walk with Cliff and Tony.
Yes.
So I thought that was pretty cool. My son, it's the first time my son has ever seen a solar eclipse, and we got him the glasses and
the little one.
Look up
Or both of them.
The big one. Well, the little one was asleep.
Okay.
He just turned 2.
He was like me. I'm too tired for this.
And he wouldn't keep the glasses on. He'd burn his retinas out like in a flash. So.
Well, it didn't happen to our president, so I'm sure he's fine.
Well,
Yeah. Well, he's younger, so more dangerous.
Yes. So my son thought it was very cool. He was very excited. And I thought it was pretty cool. I like that kind of stuff. And so it was a very hectic day, though, because with the eclipse and trying to get my kids to my wife before I went to the site visit and everything. So, but other than that, it's been a pretty good week. And I got to read some comics. Dun, dun, dun. But before we talk about that, let's talk about some comics that you read.
Yes.
In our What Did We Read segment. Boop. And you read...
Well, we're starting off with Nightwing, The New Order, a 6-issue miniseries. I want you to know, I grabbed it not even thinking That was a 6-issue miniseries. I was like, oh, a new Nightwing #1. I should really look into this. So I just grab it, and you'll see the cover says "Our heroes are human," and it opens with 12 years ago, and like Nightwing is like walking away in Metropolis from a catastrophe that has just destroyed everyone. You just see Wonder Woman and Superman's got like barbed wire, like not barbed wire. What's that stuff that's inside the cinder block of buildings?
The rebar.
Rebar is like cutting through Superman's leg and everything. And they're like, and he's like, Tick, what did you do? What did you do? He's like, I did what I have to do. Now, mind you, it says 12 years ago. So I'm like, well, this didn't happen 12 years ago, right? And the person who's narrating it is talking about his dad, right? So cut to the present. The present is the year 2040, and it's Nightwing's son talking about all this. So we get to see there are still some people with superpowers around, like Dr. Light, right? Nightwing is still kind of out there doing stuff. He's also like a civic leader and all this other stuff that's going on. You know, and he has a good relationship with his son, and Alfred is still around. Alfred's actually in 2040. Alfred's still around and cooking in the kitchen with his son. I mean, I guess if Alfred is only as old as we think he is right now in 2017, then sure, why shouldn't he be just an older, slower gentleman in 2040? So anyhow, like they have dinner. And I mean, I feel like I'm skipping around, but like, you know, the real meat is really the end of issue 1, which of course I'm going to spoil for all of you, so prepare. He's, you know, like he keeps talking about the boy's mother. Have you heard from her? Hasn't it been so hard on him not having her? You know? And I'm just like, is it Starfire? Is it Starfire? Is it Starfire? You know? I was like, because that's all I ever want Dick to be with. Yeah. I want Dick Grayson and Starfire together. Yeah. I have no interest in his other romantic entanglements. As far as I'm concerned, they're the only couple I want. You know, unless, you know, he starts going out with Midnighter. But no, I really like with Apollo. So anyhow,
I was just gonna say, is a Midnighter and Apollo a couple?
They're a couple. You know how I feel about them. They are my everything. Although my new everything is the Ray and Xenos. So over in Justice League of America.
Yeah. So quick question. So the stuff that's going on in the Justice League comic.
Yeah. With
the kids of the Justice League.
Yeah, nothing to do with the storyline.
Nothing to do. Do we know what time what time they come from?
No, it doesn't really narrow it down.
Okay, I'm just curious because it seems like there's two similar storylines going on here. Where
we're talking
the kids in the future reflecting back on.
I mean, except for those kids from that future came back.
Right, but I mean, it's about like kids in the future doing something, whether it's coming back or telling the story.
Well, this one they're telling the story in the future.
Right.
So this is to me, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to DC, everything is merely a potential timeline. When it comes to these types of stories.
Right.
You know, obviously, I don't see Superman raising Wonder Woman's kid or Wonder Woman abandoning any of her children.
Right.
You know, so these kids in the Justice League, I'm sure that future's not coming to pass. Okay. Unless DC tells an amazing story about how Wonder Woman, of all freaking people, would abandon her child. So I'm not a huge fan of that segment of the storyline.
Yeah.
So anyhow, this kid, they're having a good time, and he keeps saying, and he goes, that was my last real conversation with Dad, because he's like lying in bed, and he goes, you know, this kid I go to school with is Dr. Light's nephew, you know, and he's like, oh, I'm really sorry about that, blah blah blah, and he goes, what did you do, Dad? He's like, did you take everybody's powers away, and then how come how many people were hurt, and how come not everybody lost their powers? You know? Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's it. He's like, I don't know. Not everyone lost their powers. I did what I had to do to protect the people I love. And sometimes, and he goes, and the only thing I'm sorry about is that so many people were hurt. You know? And so the kid is like, and that's my last real conversation with Dad before everything changed. So it's like literally the next day, right? And he gets called into the kid's school, and there's an incident, and the principal is like, Mr. Grayson, no one knows, only the coach saw what happened. We're gonna take you in to go see him right now. And he opens the door, and his son has flashing red eyes, and he's like, I'm sorry, Dad. And then to be continued right there.
So his son has powers.
Yes. I'm dying to know who the mother is. Of course I want to be Starfire, but I'm dying to know who the mother is. Wow. You know? But again, most of the heroes are human because Dick Grayson just went and wiped like almost all the
Does it
superpowers
say how
out.
he did it?
No, it's only issue 1, so we know he did it, and we know everything's changed.
Interesting.
Good stuff.
So, woo, boo?
The fact that like I'm on the edge of my seat and like why any of this happened, I'm gonna give it a woo.
All right, so that's a woo for Nightwing, The New Order, and this came out today, correct?
This is today.
So that released today.
Everything is from today.
Awesome. Almost everything I'm talking about today, except for one. So let's move on to Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps number 27.
Yep.
Orion, the Dog of War, leashed.
Yeah.
I changed that to a question mark.
It's also, Fall of the Gods. So, remember part 1 was called Metal, and I was freaking out about it. So now we're in part 2, and these big celestial dudes have shown up and are wreaking havoc with the Green Lantern Corps, and all they want is Orion. So Orion's like, I got a plan. And Hal Jordan is like, don't let Orion do anything stupid, Kyle Rayner. And he's like, okay, I'm on it. And then he's like, hey, Kyle, give me this thing. Okay, sure. And then stabs his own heart out so that the Celestials will leave. And then they start racing him back to Oa to try and save him. And he goes, Kyle, what part of don't let him do anything stupid did you not understand? And he's like, I thought he had a plan. And clearly he had a plan.
Yeah.
So they get there and they got, and like some, the ones with the medical experience, the Green Lanterns with the medical experience are helping. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, they want to go after the other New Gods because they know they're after Light Ray, who's like the speedster of the New Gods. And they need to find Highfather. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be like a really serious chase. And now John Stewart is involved. So then, to set up more protection on Oa, they asked some of the Lanterns who are formerly Sinestro Corps members, because I didn't know the Sinestro Corps was dismantled at the beginning of Rebirth, or that Sinestro's been presumed dead. So, sweet goodness, guys, Sinestro showing up as Superman to try and get Parallax back is a bigger deal than I thought. Awesome. So, sorry for not just being fully abreast of the situation. So now, John Stewart is like, he's like, whenever the New Gods are involved, things are complicated. And it cuts to John Stewart in the core of a planet with a big yellow New Gods designed bomb, right? And him watching the counter go 4, 3, 2, 1. I am thinking he is flashing back to the storyline where he couldn't save Fatality's planet. Yeah. Because, of course, the Dark Side of the New Gods, that was another Dark Side story. Yeah. That Mike Mignola did the art and everything. So I think that was particularly a flashback to that. And although it looked like Apocalypse, when I figure if Darkseid had messed with the planet would start to look like Apocalypse because it would have fire pits and everything. Yeah. So he goes, and then it cuts back to John talking to Hal, and he's like, it tends to get complicated. And he's like, so John, are you telling me that we have to race across the galaxy and try to catch the fastest of the New Gods and try to put a stop to this? And he's like, yes, Hal, of course. And he's like, I can't wait. Like, because, Hal, like, racing. Hal's yes. And, this is what I want. Which is weird. I am kind of used to Hal being that way. And I'm kind of not used to him being that way at this point in his career. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, that's where we left that. And, I like it. It's leading up to something, and my head is trying to wrap myself around where we are here with this battle for the New Gods versus where we are in Mr. Miracle. Mm-hmm. Clearly there's a big, over-the-top celestial threat. Clearly Darkseid's involved, but in one book, it's like Highfather's already dead. In this book, it's like, oh, we're trying to protect the New Gods.
Do you think the two storylines are going to come together at all?
I hope so, because I'll be so mad if they don't.
So
definitely a woo.
A woo? Awesome.
A woo.
Awesome. Well, speaking of the Green Lanterns, I have finally been catching up on Star Trek Green Lantern Volume 2.
Yeah.
The Spectrum Wars, I think it's called. Or is this Strange Worlds? So, great cover, by the way. I love this cover. The Enterprise slamming into, an asteroid or a moon, and Sinestro there. By the way,
looking responsible for it because it's covered in yellow energy.
Yeah, which, by the way, doesn't happen in the comic.
Yeah, just a super cool cover.
Super cool cover. So, as I mentioned, the first volume 1. So it did I tell the story of volume 1? I think I did. So basically, that's right. Ganthet uses the I forget what
auxiliary rings.
He basically uses the rings to escape their reality because it's destroyed, and a copy of each ring is brought with him, and along with like the chief, ring bearer, the leader of each of those cores, except Indigo.
Yeah, no Indigo tribe members, huh?
And so, but I think there's an Indigo ring. So this picks up after they defeat. They have this sort of war. So now what's happening is their rings are fading because they have no battery to recharge them, and Jon Stewart, and Guy Gardner and Kilowog are on Earth at Starfleet Academy, and they're talking about. They're giving like lecture talks on like how their rings work, and then on the Starfleet rings that Scotty created that are like basically personal shields and like phasers, like, and they're talking about like teaching cadets how to use them and things. Meanwhile,
so they influenced Star Trek universe technology from their first trip.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, no, they haven't left.
Right,
Right. Yeah.
Since their arrival.
So,
the first storyline.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Kirk and the Enterprise are out in space. Hal Jordan's with them, and what's her name? Ferris.
Carol Ferris.
Carol.
Yeah.
I don't know why I forgot her name. Anyway, Carol Ferris, who by the way is in a relationship with Scotty.
Well, Hal is not reliable.
Yeah. So
it's hot Scotty, right?
What's that?
Hot young Scotty, I hope.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this is the Kelvin timeline crew. This is like the new movies. The new movies.
So way more attractive Scotty.
Yes. Simon Pegg Scotty.
I take it.
Yeah, sure. So Saint Walker's out looking, investigating some stuff. Meanwhile, Sinestro's back on the Klingon homeworld of Kronos. He's apparently conquered it and is now the Emperor of Kronos.
And not worried about his ring's energy.
Well, his ring is fading, and he's getting a little upset that he's just like wandering around like whatever. So Saint Walker was off investigating this. I think it was an asteroid field or a big moon or something, and there was something on it that was of interest, and he sent out a communication to the Enterprise to tell them to come there, but it got cut off in the middle of it, and then you find out that Sinestro had him kidnapped. The Klingons bring Saint Walker to Emperor Sinestro of Kronos.
Because he'll charge up that ring like a nobody's business.
So that was the intent, but then he discovers what Saint Walker found on that moon, and guess what it was?
A battery.
A manhunter.
Ooh.
From that universe.
Oh.
So that gets everybody thinking, well, if there's a manhunter and they're the precursors to the Lantern Corps, there's an Oa, and on that Oa, there's probably a battery.
And there's a lot of power.
So that was the first big reveal in this issue, actually at the end of issue 1.
That's super awesome.
So then in issue 2, the Enterprise is on its way to this moon, and they contact the Lanterns back on Earth and say, "You guys got to come out here. We need your help."
Put the rings in power saver mode.
So, well, it's funny because what happens is so John and Kilowog will beam down to the planet, and Guy Gardner's like, "I'm not letting that thing scramble me." So he uses the power in his ring, and John's like, "You shouldn't do that. You're gonna lose the power in your ring." So they. So they get to this thing and they're investigating the manhunter, and then Sinestro shows up with his Klingon force, and they have a battle, and all this stuff is happening.
Must love him.
They really do. And
like, this guy's ideals are everything.
So meanwhile, Atrocitus is like out searching for rage because his ring power is fading also. So he's like, oh, I need rage to power my battery until I can find to power my ring until I can find a battery. And so he's like every once in a while there'll be a page of him like finding, and he's like, I feel this rage. I need to go to this rage. I feel it. And so back at the battle between the Enterprise and Sinestro, Sinestro distracts them by, I think, trying to throw the Enterprise into this planet. And what ends up happening is it was just a big distraction so he could steal the Manhunter, which hopefully would have the coordinates
to his creators,
to Oa in the thing. And so then Atrocitus finds this like station, and he's like, there's so much rage here, and you see him, he comes in and he's just like wrecking all of the,
and he must be supercharged.
You know what? I'm sorry. John Stewart and Kilowog and Guy Gardner don't go to where the Enterprise is. They're going to investigate what Atrocitus is doing.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. And so, so Sinestro steals the Manhunter, and then the next thing you know, there's a signal. Chekhov is like, I have multiple signals coming in, and then sure enough, an army of Manhunters show up, and they're like, you know, where's the other Manhunter? Meanwhile, John and Guy and Kilowog go down to this station where Atrocitus is, right? Where he feels all this rage. And they walk in, and Atrocitus is laying on the floor, and there's Khan with the red ring.
Oh, God.
And all of his people are out of this. Because at the end of Into Darkness,
yes,
they put them all back in the chambers and like put them in there. And that's where Atrocitus went. And then Atrocitus is laying on the floor, and Khan has the power ring.
And all his people are awake.
And all of his people are awake. And it's like, whoa! And that's what happened at the end of issue 2. I just got issues 3 and 4.
Terrifying.
I know. It blew me away. I was like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. So a huge woo for me. I'm loving this series. And at first, when I read the first volume, I was like, how good can it be? Like how like
they're like, we're gonna up the stakes.
And it's like, and the first one was good. I was like, this is pretty good. I like this, you know. And then this one, when it got to that, I was like, whoa! So huge woo for me.
So how many issues in have you read it? Is it collected yet or no?
It is collected, but I got the single issues, and I'm just now getting to read them. It's only 6 issues. So I just picked up 3 and 4 today.
How will they defeat Khan? Will they recharge their rings?
Well, and that's the thing is like, you know, is there an Oa? Are there Guardians? Like, are they? And so I'm really excited.
Yeah, if not, who are these Manhunters?
Exactly, where these Manhunters come
There's
from.
some dude in the planet just building Manhunters.
So yeah, so huge woo for me. I can't wait to continue this one. So sticking in the IDW universe.
Yeah.
First Strike number 2.
Yeah. So how do I even feel about this? So this is the retailer incentive cover, right?
I kind of like it.
That I didn't want.
If you don't want it, I'll take it.
And we'll see how that works out. But what's really funny about this is, what is his name? The one who's a boombox.
That's Soundwave.
So Soundwave is actually like...
I know my Transformers.
Is actually part of... Sometimes I do. And Soundwave is actually part of the story. So this is kind of funny to me that the worst cover is actually related to the story. But the only reason I have it is there were no other copies when I went to pick up.
Oh, cool.
And not because it's sold out, but because everything was delivered haphazardly this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like it was just me like just clawing at whatever was new. So there's a lot of stuff I would have read this week that I didn't get to. I want to read the Thor Generations this week, and it wasn't there.
We have that upstairs.
I will probably purchase it on the way out because it looks really good. And, Thor and Jane Foster Thor. So, anyhow, so this is really kind of a Joe story. But thankfully, I read how many issues there are. Like there's this, all the crossovers. Mm-hmm. There's going to be an Optimus Prime one-shot. So I have faith that just because we're reading everything through the Transformers viewpoint at the moment doesn't mean there will not be a tonal shift through the series. So of course they're still at the facility where where Scarlet has found out the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Joe Colton has betrayed us. I can't believe this. So of course they're attacked by those cybernetic red ninjas or whatever. Mm. There's some little pocket-sized woman who's tormenting Storm Shadow. And she's like, I was promised a new body. And so she gets So he takes her to this lab, and we don't see what's in the lab. We just hear her say, "I'll take that one." And then when they next show up on the street, she's a giant mechanized like devil chick, and she's like, "I only took what was promised to me, my new body." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" So she's on team, Baron Ironside or whatever, Baron Ironblood, Baron. Man, I should have made notes. You know what I'm talking about? Joe Colton in his disguise.
Yeah, or his true self. Dun, dun, dun.
So far, he's all about, I made that identity so I can infiltrate you villains so we can take out the Transformers because they're the most dangerous thing ever.
It boggles my mind that, like, as a Transformers fan, that, like, that's the angle that they're playing with the Transformers. I don't know how I feel about that.
I think it's perfect, right? So now Starscream and...
but here's the thing. So you're saying that Optimus Prime, of all people...
Yeah.
The robot that literally said sentience is freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Yes. I mean, he's a good guy. That doesn't change.
Right, but he's literally like doing the opposite of that and saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna be in charge because it's the right thing to do."
Well, no, but everyone's in charge. Like that woman has a place on their council and everything. So like everybody gets represented in this council.
Oh, okay.
So it's like still equal representation. However, I mean, like what feels equal? So it's her, Optimus, Starscream, and Elta or Elita. She's a pinkish Transformer. So they keep talking about how these humans are insignificant and getting in the way, and the Earth leader is like, "I am right here," and then the other one, Elta, is like holding her blaster fist to her face, being like, "I don't know why you don't do what you should do and just extinguish the humans while you can," and she's like, "Again, I'm right here, and if you were such an amazing field commander, then you would do what it takes, and you would do it without any civilian casualties, or is that just too much strategy for you?" So Elta takes it. I'm probably butchering the name.
Oh, I think that's right because there's only a handful of female Transformers that
especially one that would be formerly a Decepticon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Elta looks at her like, "Are you challenging me?" So she puts out the call to the other Transformers and it's like, "Please pursue, but only round up and secure. Mm-hmm. Do not terminate." So she was just like, because at first she's like, "They're attacking us. This is war. Just kill them." And now she's like, just round them up. And I forgot the big finish. And then, of course, we get a backup story again, which I love the backup story. Mm-hmm. And
is David still writing this?
Oh, yeah, David and Marguerite are writing it. And there's a beautiful, the back cover of the comic is an interview with David and Marguerite.
Oh, really?
And that's really good. And it explains a lot of their feelings on this series and where they want to take these characters and how the after effects will be felt throughout the Hasbro universe.
That's kind of cool.
All right. The big finish is apparently another series is going on right now that coincides with this on top of all the other crossovers, and it's Transformers versus Rom, and of course they're fighting the Wraiths.
Okay.
Right? And what are the name of those Wraiths? It's something Wraith. It's some I know, but like Dire Wraiths. I was gonna say they're Dire Wraiths in everything. Yeah, so it's just particularly Rom's villains are Dire Wraiths. So anyhow, that's the big finish. So now I guess I'm gonna be picking up this Transformers versus Rom as soon as it comes out because this one is like on time. Every other book they reference is not on time.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So David and Marguerite are kicking butt and they know what they're doing.
Hopefully we'll see David at the Expo or possibly New York Comic Con.
I don't know if he'll be at New York Comic Con.
Why wouldn't he be at New York Comic Con, especially if he's on this?
You know what? All the more reason he should be.
Yes.
So anyhow.
By the way, I've been playing Skylanders Imaginators recently.
Just thinking of him.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I've been like, I can't wait to talk to David about these.
It's so good. The background story is Joe Colton approaching Despero. Despero's the metal face dude. Villains, G.I. Joe?
No, isn't that...
No. He's a
not-
solid metal face.
Yes. Sure. You
That's
know what?
Despero.
I wasn't a big G.I. Joe
It doesn't
fan when I was
matter.
a
You
kid.
know who it is. So he approaches Despero. Despero has his bats, whatever those automated things are, his automated guard, like attacking Joe Colton nonstop. And he's like, I can still hear you while you make your case while my bats try to destroy you. So he keeps talking about how it's mutually beneficial if they team up. And he's like, bats, please allow Mr. Colton to continue uninterrupted. And the robots back off.
Wow.
And he goes, you're right, this is mutually beneficial. For now, we work together. And he's got his chessboard with all the pieces, and he moves his own piece and the Baroness's piece into play.
So do they know that he's Joe, or they just think he's...
No, they know. They know he's Joe? Because he's been
wow.
exposed, so they know.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it sounds like you're digging this series.
I am. And again, did not grow up a fan of either series. I was casually entertained by them. So please forgive me for not remembering everything. But I'm still interested. I still get it. I'm still into. I'm definitely gonna read it again because I read this last night before bed at 10:30. But I remember just enough.
Awesome. So woo?
Oh yeah, it's a woo.
Awesome.
I'm still behind it. I hope everybody else can get behind it. I think it's a great crossover.
All right, so that's gonna bring us to Iceman number 4.
All right, best issue of the series. Best issue of the series. I don't even know what happened. All of a sudden, the writing was better, the art was better, the whole freaking team, everybody's amazing. It was just, everything was great. Everything was just good. It was just easier to read. It was just, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened between issue 3 and this. But I'm in. I'm just completely in. Dakin, first of all. Dakin. Because we all know that Dakin is omnisexual or whatever, so I love that. Okay, so in the recap of previous issues, the Purifiers have attacked Bobby, Iceman, right? While he's trying to make amends with his family, and they're down to try and make amends. So that's our recap from previous issues. Bobby is missing a student, okay? I guess I can't say the word I'm thinking of. Some kid named Zach. And you know what I'm thinking of when you're thinking of that pretentious kid in class. So fill in the blank with the word. So this kid Zach is missing, and some of the students find him on social media, and he's just hanging out wherever, living the high life, almost Hellfire Club-esque.
Okay.
Right? So Bobby's like, oh, okay, really? So he gets a tuxedo. He's like, I'm just going to go and find him. And I think it's so funny that he has the tuxedo. So, of course, he pinpoints, wherever this club is. And, of course, he talks to Kitty. And his parents... And also in the wrap-up, his parents are trying to, handle the fact that he's a mutant. And they accept the fact that, they're estranged from him. But they said, look, we don't know who our son is anymore. And that is our fault. But, healing and everything is a two-way street. We got to work together. I feel like I need to give you that foundation because that's going to come back to bite us at the end. So anyhow, he's like, okay, I got to find this kid, see what kind of troubles he's into. He goes to the city. He's in the tux. He's at the back of this club. Someone comes to the door, and he quickly makes an ice unicorn or an ice horse that he's holding. Oh, I gotta get this in, man. It's so heavy. You know how these people are. Oh, dude, I totally understand. So he comes in, walks through the whole kitchen, dumps the ice horse in the garbage because he just needed it to walk in.
Yeah.
And then goes into the lounge, sees the kid Zach hanging out with a bunch of friends, and Dakin immediately, in a beautiful white suit, immediately closes in on him and starts dancing with him, right? And starts talking to him. And he's like, I heard you were new and different and more exciting, Bobby Drake, And he's like, he's like, are my charms working on you? Because, his pheromones work on just about everybody. And he's like, you know what? Save it, Dakin, because I know there's a reason I don't like you. And they keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they're having this awkward dance with, very close connections or whatever. And he's basically telling him what an inept teacher he is, right? And so he's like, you know what? This isn't what I came here for. He goes, but I'm glad we had this time together because now I've frozen you from the inside. And he walks away and Dakin's there frozen. So he goes to confront the kid, and the kid's talking to him, and he goes, what? He goes, 20 minutes a day in the danger room. He goes, a bunch of lectures, a bunch of tests, a bunch of quizzes, no one teaching me how to use my powers. He goes, in 1 hour, Dakin taught me how to do more of my powers than you or Kitty Pryde did. And
Who is this that said this?
The kid's Zach.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So Iceman tries to like freeze him to take him back, and he goes, no, I already neutralized your power. You know? And so apparently he has these manipulative abilities. Like he can manipulate electronics, and he could focus on like shutting down your mutant power. Wow. Right? So Dakin comes in, and the kid leaves to go to the roof because he's going to go to Madripoor to train. Like, so Dakin has like a plan, and he Bobby compared him to the Hellfire Club, and he goes, I like to think of it as Dakin's school of higher and higher learning. You know? And I'm like, this is freaking great.
Yep.
This is freaking great. So anyhow, they go up to the rooftop. The kid neutralizes Bobby, gets into the helicopter, takes off. Dakin's like, let's just finish this straight because I can't take it anymore. And he goes, great, but I'm gonna have my powers because that kid can't fly the helicopter and control me and shut me down at the same time, right? So Dakin's charging at him full Wolverine style, and Bobby's preparing something in his hand like a freaking what do you call it? Like a fireball from Street Fighter, right? And he keeps calling him Snowflake the whole issue, right? He keeps calling Bobby Snowflake, right? So
Dakin does?
Dakin does, right? So or Dakin, right? So he makes I guess he is Dakin. Just that's what everybody calls him. He makes a giant freaking snowflake and shoves it right through his torso and into a wall. And he's like, damn it, Snowflake. He goes, you ruined my new suit. So they have the whole thing, and he keeps leaning on the Snowflake, like arguing with him. First he actually he makes an ice slide and tries to chase after the helicopter, but he's not fast enough. So he comes back and like rubs it in Dakin's face, and then I feel like a little weird after that scene. Like, I don't think they did anything, but he comes home to the mansion in the morning. It's like the sun has risen, and it's almost like he's doing the walk of shame. So I'm like, what am I supposed to think happened with these two? So anyhow, he comes in with his little tuxedo over his shoulder, and he's got his like X-Men short gear on, right? And Kitty's talking to him, and she's like, oh man, blah blah blah, you're surprised. He goes, Kitty, I'm so sorry. And he goes, wait a second, what are you talking about? And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you first. She goes, you've got visitors. And he's like, what? And his parents walk in, and they're like, oh, we finally made the trip. We figured we'll make you breakfast, and then you'll give us the tour. And he's like, Mom, Dad. And they're like, what is it? And he's like, I'm gay. And they're like, and that's the final page. Like, he just decides, like...
Oh, they didn't know.
They didn't know. They're dealing with him being a freaking mutant.
Oh, wow.
So he just, like, blurts out that he's gay because, like...
That's perfect time.
I don't know if it's because he's surprised. I don't know if it's because he just feels like he needed to get that off his chest because they promised each other they were going to make this effort of, like, moving forward. But his mom was the one doing most of the talking and had an excited look on her face, like, I'm really going to make the best out of this, and I dragged your father here. And the dad has the stern look on his face, and it's just like your mother performed a miracle,
Yeah.
And then he blurts out he's gay, and then we'll see how they deal with that after the fact. And I know, this has been a rough ride. I really like this issue. I prefer how Bobby and his issues with his sexuality are handled here very well. And I don't know if we ever had this conversation before. There's lots of people who are just like, I can't wrap my head around why Iceman, is gay or like that he's closeted for years. But there is a history, and you can find Chris Claremont, and you can find Chuck Dixon, and you can find a whole bunch of these guys, and they've all tried to handle the Iceman as gay story in the past, and Marvel continually was like, no. Jeff Loeb, I think? No. Scott Liddell tried it with the whole, like, Emma Frost was in his mind, right? And she's like, oh, I know all sorts of things about you, Bobby Drake. Like, all these people definitely tried it in previous storylines. So this is not, for me, and me knowing all this, I don't find this character's change and having to deal with it as like off-putting and like weird, and you know, and I like the idea that we're hearing the story of someone who's just way more closeted, uncomfortable, unsure.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Some of the characters are just suddenly like, look, we revamped them. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. I
This
mean, like,
feels more like a journey.
this feels more like a journey, and this issue really felt like it. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's because it was a cleaner artist, you know, because that has a big effect on me reading comic books. If the art is like distracting, I can't give it the focus it deserves. But yes, I'm totally giving this a woo. I'm probably giving it the second biggest woo of the week.
Wow.
Because it just was a great story. Great interactions, still some actual action in the story, character development for Bobby.
So do you feel like the first few issues helped you appreciate this issue, and that there was an arc?
No, there was an arc, but I just feel like this was way more.
So if you
cohesive.
felt like issue 1 had started at this level,
yes, I would have been way more excited.
Oh, you would have been more excited.
Yeah,
so,
I wish it started this level.
Okay.
It's by the way, I have a personal feeling on Netflix shows. I know this is funny, right? But I feel like every Marvel Netflix show doesn't like jump off the cliff into excitement until the 4th episode, right? Season 1 of Daredevil, the freaking city on fire from Kingpin's view with his new girlfriend, right? Jump off point, awesome. Jessica Jones, what happens in episode 4? Her and Luke Cage finally like get together and have their big heroic, you know, like get together and like, you know, tell me about yourself, and Jessica's origins are revealed. Season 2 of Daredevil started off way stronger, so I'm going to give that one the exemption, but even that one, episode 4 was like, pow! And,
well, and we're going to talk about Defenders here in a minute, but
yes.
episode 4, isn't that the Chinese restaurant episode?
Yes, it is.
And I felt like that's where it
begins. Yes.
I mean, I felt like it was good quality anyway, but it really took off there. So, all right. So, big woo for this. Let's talk about our last comic of the week before we get into Daredevil Defender spoilers. So, I continued the Betty Page, you know, the secret diary of Betty Page, and she's a secret agent. So it's less that she's a secret agent and more that she's sort of like fallen in with this like organization, this scientific organization, and you discover that there's some mysterious goings on with one of the employees that turns out to be like the close call human sacrifice that she, you know, almost endured. And then you find out later in this episode so that it wasn't necessarily human sacrifice that was about to happen. So this issue picks up. Betty has just been cast as Queen of the Space Commies in her first big Hollywood movie, right? So she's on set, and you know they're doing the thing, and she's so well trained, you know, like she's so physically fit that she actually accidentally throws a GI like into the set and breaks it. And so there's all this other stuff. And then she's, when she's not working on the set, she's off with her sort of Howard Stark type of friend. This is very much parallels
Sharon Carter.
Peggy Carter.
Peggy Carter.
In quite a few ways, but she's less. I feel like Betty sort of falls into this stuff as opposed to
right. She's
Peggy
like, this is like, what I came to do.
Right. Peggy's like, I'm here to you know make it in a man's world in this era, and Betty is more like, well, you know, I'm pretty good looking. I should be a model in Hollywood, but it's not enough for her. She wants more excitement and more. She wants to do more. She wants to be somebody who makes a difference, and she's finding these little ways to do that. And the writing's okay, but it's very like linear. It's very straightforward. It's about what's going on and not really about much else. You know what I mean? Like it's about the story that's happening. It's about the plot. And
listen, sometimes this is just the best, easiest read.
This is only issue 2 also. So she goes on a little stakeout thing with her benefactor there, and they are following the former employee that tried to use that whatever ray thing on her, and and then they're tailing them, and they narrowly escape a machine gun barrage, and then the next day she goes to set. And they're doing the big money set piece that she says, oh, well, they clearly spent more money on this set, on this scene, because they certainly didn't pay the writer because the script's not that good, and they certainly didn't pay the lead actress because I'm not making that much money. And she goes to set, and it's outside of a government building or something. There's a bunch of extras there, and in the script, it's that the space commies are going to shoot this ray at the crowd, and then the crowd's going to run off scared. And she sees the ray. She sees the big giant ray gun, and it's just like the thing that the guy was trying to shoot her with. And
from the first issue.
From the first issue. And so she goes to the director, and she's like,
where did this come from?
She's like, where did this come from? And he's like, oh yeah, the writer brought that in, and he hired some special operator to use it. And she's like, what's the name of the writer? And he's like, oh, it's a big secret, but I guess I can tell you. And then somebody's like, hey, we're ready to go. The assistant director's like, all right, we're gonna start rolling. Let's go. And places everybody. And so he's like, I'll tell you later. And so she goes up to the thing, and then he's like, all right, action. And then he hits the ray. And the ray hits the people, and then nobody moves. And the director's like, you guys are supposed to run. Go, go, go. And the guy operating the machine's like, oh no, they're going to do something else. And then he goes, tear each other apart. And then the crowd just turns on each other and starts punching each other and fighting each other. And he realizes it's like some kind
Which also happened to Peggy Carter.
And starts like manipulating the crowd. And so Betty is like, oh, I got to stop this. So she goes into action, and she tries to chase the guy, and she can't chase the guy. And so she grabs the thing, and she's like, everybody cut it out. And everybody cuts it out. And then the guy goes to escape, and he's trying to run, and they run up to the top of this building. Oh, it's an observatory. That's what it is. They're outside of like an observatory. And so she chases him up, and there's nowhere to go. And she's like, what are you going to do? Jump in your UFO? And then all of a sudden a UFO appears, and he's like, we'll meet again, Betty Page. And then he jumps in his UFO and takes off. And I was like, what is going on? This is crazy.
It sounds like there's enough going on there.
It's fun and it's interesting. It's not as like,
Does it have to be?
It doesn't have to. I'm interested enough to read it.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be Kick-Ass. It doesn't have to be Watchmen.
I think because it reminds me so much of Peggy Carter, and Betty Page isn't Peggy Carter, and I kind of want her to be. I think that's where I'm having a bit of a problem. But I want to stick with it because this whole idea of Betty Page being a secret.
A secret agent with super scientists, maybe aliens.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, whoa, okay. So a decent woo for me on this one. I'm still gonna pick up the next issue. This issue did seem more concise and more the velocity of the narrative felt like good. Like it felt well paced. It felt the first issue was a little kind of rough, but I feel like this issue really oh, okay, this is what's happening. The plot's moving forward. It's boom, 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 and it was good. I wanted more, which is good, and so I'm looking forward to the next issue. So a decent move for me. So let's move on to what did we watch, and we're going to talk about Marvel's The Defenders, and we are going to be full-on spoiler review on this.
Yeah, so if you have an issue with that,
if you haven't
back
seen
away
it,
now.
Watch it. And I will be honest with you, though. There are not a lot of big reveals. There are not a lot of big, moments.
If the most important Defender to you is Daredevil, yes. Because I have nicknamed this Daredevil Season 2.5.
I would agree with that. I would also call it the best Iron Fist series ever.
And yet people still hated him to death.
I'll be honest with you. So overall, let's start with what we didn't like about this first. I know that's gonna be tough.
No, the thing I didn't like delves deep into the series quickly.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I didn't like.
Okay.
So one thing I didn't like about this was I didn't like. I thought overall the action was pretty good, but it felt a little inconsistent. The choreography and and the cinematography in some of the fight scenes. Like by the time it got to the last episode, I was kind of bored with the action.
Oh my god, I have something funny to tell you about that. Right? Okay, so I can agree with you, right? And so first of all, the choreography for Iron Fist went from like 0 to 60.
Oh yeah.
So like Iron Fist himself, great performer, but it feels like Elektra came in with her choreography at where it was, and then you just kept running with it. I'm watching it and I'm like, God, she keeps doing this leg thing over and over. I'm like, I'm really tired of the leg thing, right? And then I had rewatched Daredevil season 2 prior to this because I knew Elektra was going to be in it, right? And I realized I was so tired of the leg thing because she had done it over and over in Daredevil season 2. Yeah. So I was just like, who the hell is the choreographer?
Which, by the way,
why the leg thing?
Which, by the way, is the same leg thing that Black Widow's done 4 times in the Avengers movies.
Yeah, but Black Widow is like doing it at like a turbo speed with a super movie set, and this is like normal human speed, and like it doesn't make sense every time she does it. But everything else makes sense for some reason because there's so much focus on Elektra, the weapon, that like I wanted her to be better, and she had great moves, but all the in between moves were so sad. I was like, what is happening?
And so it was just slightly inconsistent for me, but there were some really great like sequences of the action.
Absolutely. Overall action, I think it was pretty stellar.
I was minorly annoyed, just ever so slightly, about how like I feel like this very much is Daredevil and Danny's.
And it should be because it's the hand,
and it makes sense.
Yes,
I sort of felt like the way Luke Cage gets put into it,
and Jessica
to an extent, although hers, the redeeming quality about Jessica being in this,
she plays hers better, I think.
She plays hers better, and she grounds you because every single time something silly is said, that you're like your suspension of disbelief is just like, well, that sounds a little crazy in the real world. She literally is like, all right, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm out. Like I can't
what are we
this.
talking about? Mystical cities. Yeah. Undead ninjas? What am I here
she's
for?
Like this, and at one point, she's even like, what, does everybody know Kung Fu?
Yes,
yes. And so so like her investigation.
Well, she should have said like, Kung Fu.
Oh, what did she say?
But she said karate. Does everybody know karate now?
Right.
But because in reality, it would have been everybody knows Kung Fu all of a sudden.
It was I just felt like. I felt like the way they put them in, especially Luke Cage, because I felt like it could have been. I felt like there could have been a more like
developmental.
Well, I could have been if it was more of a direct threat to Harlem, like his neighborhood. Like I was thinking that.
Okay, so here's where it was. This is where I thought it was good enough. Okay, because he still has that looming regret that girl who was going to testify for them died. Right. So now the fact that her brother has died because of these mysterious forces hiring people, and now the little brother just got a new job, and that poor woman is suffering because her children are dying. I thought it was enough, and by using the girl who was going to testify for them dying first, I thought that was a good hook because it wasn't like it just came out of nowhere. It came from his storyline. Ooh, I got chills talking about it. I liked it. And I love the city. You know what's so funny? Like, I don't love New York City as much in real life when I visit as I do when I'm watching the show. Yep. The cinematographers make the city a character in the show, and that did not fail here. And anyone whose head that goes over when they're watching it, I feel sorry for them because that was a key. When he's in Harlem and he's like looking around at the devastation and the flowers and it was magical because like the moment is captured, but the spirit of Harlem is still captured in the moment, and that happens throughout the entire series, even when they're in Central Park. You know, beautiful.
So let's just jump into it full on and talk about the stuff that we loved and just go through the story. So I love the cinematography of this. I thought that this series was shot really well.
Oh, they, as far as shooting goes, knocked it out of the park. There was weird cinematography in Iron Fist. We talked about that, like straight. And I'm sure the director and the cinematographer had like their own idea. It just didn't seem to really work amongst other things that didn't work with Iron Fist. But here they really just did great quality movie style like
it was like, I mean, it was just so, it just felt it gave the Defenders like such a great feeling, and just the quality, I loved like the transitions that almost felt like it reminded me of like being in a subway and having things go by, except it was like vertical, but it just felt really cool, and I really liked it. Like I thought it was just shot great.
Hallway scenes.
Another hallway scene.
Hallway scenes are mastered
in every Marvel.
Although
Netflix
this one might have been my most favorite fight of the whole thing.
So, if I'm not mistaken, it starts in the conference room, and wasn't there like just a 360 shot?
Yes.
Of like
of Danny
everything?
Just fighting everyone in the conference room.
And then like Luke comes in and
just
like
it's just fully impenetrable, and it's wonderful.
I really love that they sort of like they all were converging onto this one location separately.
Yep.
And then like they're fighting together, but they don't like know. They just assume that these guys are fighting them too, so I guess they're on my side.
Yeah.
And then they all escape.
Well, I mean, it's cool because like Jessica already knows. Okay, well, this dude is my lawyer, so like whatever. And Luke.
Well, she knows he's Daredevil.
Well, no, she figures it out really quick.
Yeah.
But the point is like even without that, she knows like.
Well, no, right before this, she tells him.
Yeah.
I know you're Daredevil because I have pictures of you jumping in the thing.
Yeah, he just shows
Which,
the
by the
camera.
way, that's another thing that I couldn't stand. Is like, how does Matt not know that she's right behind him taking a photo?
Because you forget the power we don't discuss about Jessica in the show. Her power flight jumping. So, of course, he didn't notice her if she's hovering.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay.
Because that's what I assumed.
But the camera goes...
Right, but she can do it from a distance.
But she wasn't at a distance. She was in the same alley that he was. He can hear...
Oh, that's right.
He can hear...
He should have known. He should have known.
He should have absolutely known that
On
picture
the other
was
hand,
taken of him.
well, on the other hand, like we haven't talked about how his hearing power works too much, even in his own series.
But he can listen. He
listen.
30 stories down, he knew how many people were waiting for them at the bottom of the
I
hole.
know, with all that concrete and cement and imported Italian marble. What the hell, right? You know what? Fine. You're absolutely right.
I know.
I can't even.
It's so obnoxious. So,
okay, so yeah, apparently she has super stealth camera that her rich friend got
but it's
her.
not. It went clink. I mean, it was the loudest click.
I'm being funny.
I couldn't believe it. I was
he had to have known. He probably just didn't know it was her.
That was but he would have stopped and known, like, he would have known that somebody was pointing a camera at him and taking a picture.
I guess, but maybe just not her.
Right. So he should have stopped and investigated, and they just blew.
Or
right
not.
past
Maybe
him.
He's like, I'm the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Who cares?
No, because then he smashes her camera because she has photo evidence, which is just like whatever. It would have been what would have been even funnier is if she couldn't take the picture in time, but then told him, well, I've got a photo of you. And then he smashes the camera, and then she's like, actually, I was lying. I didn't have a thing to break on my camera. Like that would have been just as funny. But the funny thing is that so they're fighting in this hallway, and then they all go to that Chinese restaurant, and they have to hide, and that whole scene in there. There's like an entire episode where they're just in this Chinese food restaurant
because they're trying to hide out the night.
They're hiding out the night, which I absolutely love.
And I love that Danny bought out the restaurant.
He's like, I paid his rent for 6 months, and we had to order 4 of everything on the menu.
Yep, and it's all on my black card. We're fine.
It's all on my black card. We're fine. And then I know it was in the trailer, but it was still funny when he's like, are those shrimp? And he goes, no, they're pork. Oh, that guy's got shrimp. And he's blind. He's got the blind with this guy. And they're just like looking at him. Like the whole reaction of the fact that he's blind and he's like, a badass ninja.
Yes.
Like, just like.
Well, I love how Danny is the one who loves all of it.
Oh.
He's like, you're unbreakable. She does whatever she does. You're a blind ninja.
So I will never ever recommend anybody watch Iron Fist, the show. Mm-hmm. I'll say if you want to know who Danny Rand is, just watch Defenders.
Although, let's be honest, as soon as you watch Defenders, annoying Danny is still there. Hi, I'm Danny Rand. Hi, I'm Danny Rand.
But the thing is like.
But I love it. I defend it.
Well, and the thing is, I see what you did there.
No, I know. No pun intended.
What I love about it is that this is the Danny Rand that I can appreciate, and maybe it's because the rest of the world around him sees him as that also.
Yeah.
And I feel like in his own show,
there was not enough people questioning.
Exactly. It was like Danny, you're acting like an 11-year-old.
The only person who said it, the only person who says it in his show is Rosario Dawson's character, is Night Nurse. I love
I thought she was going to be more involved in getting them all together.
Well, you know what? She thought so too. And look how all that happened. I thought, by the way, there was something really cool that happened here, right? The B-listers not accepting themselves as the B-listers. You know?
Oh, like Colleen
Yep.
and Misty.
Yes.
And
I just, oh my God, I get chills. Because no, it wasn't the most epic of epicness ever. But yes, the fact that they're like, no, like we are brave and we are strong and we are trained and we will not sit in the background.
I almost wanted one whole episode
of Colleen and Misty. Oh.
We'll get to that in a minute, but I wanted one whole episode of just all of their friends at the police station.
Yeah, and maybe protecting themselves from ninjas. I thought that would be great.
I wanted more Foggy. I wanted more Karen.
Because they all clearly were there and feeling very weird about why they were there. Yeah. You know, and I love because they very slowly started talking to each other, and I would have thought that the person who would have tried to connect the B-listers again would have been Rosario Dawson's character. God, why is it I can remember that? Call her Night Nurse, but I can't call her actual character's name. Claire. I wish Claire had united all of them.
I wish there was more Claire in this to begin with.
Yeah.
But I
like that was like a theme. Like it was kind of like, why aren't we there? We're always on the sidelines with you guys. Like what? Not on the sidelines. We're always in the field with you. Now we're in the sidelines. What is this?
And but that whole episode in the Chinese food restaurant, I was like, this is like, that's what, like, up until that point I was like, okay, and then when that happened and the characters really got to know each other and they started forming their little bonds, like when Danny's like, hey, you want the last dumpling, and Luke Cage is like, oh, and by the way, do I have this picture? Yeah. When
actually hit him,
Danny hits him, and I thought it was going to be big. I thought there was going to be a bigger reaction when Luke is like putting ice in a thing, and Claire comes out and she's like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Oh, some guy clocked me," and she's like, I would have thought Claire would have been like, "Excuse me, like who clocked you?" And then he notices he explains that it was some guy with a glowing fist, and then she's like, "Hang on a second," and calls up the dojo and he's like,
Colleen, we gotta have lunch.
Yeah. Hey, we gotta get together. We gotta talk. We're on the same side.
Which, of course, she gave Danny in his series one of Luke's hoodies that had the bullet holes in it.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't know, I think like you guys would get along. But anyhow, like I just love how she's like, you're on the same side. Just become friends. That's all I want. And it's funny because there's different moments where different characters in the show are the viewer. Sometimes it's Jessica. Sometimes it's Claire. Sometimes it's like someone like Foggy, where they're like, why won't you just change? Just be the person we all want you to be.
But then there's that fight sequence at the restaurant.
Beautiful.
And then Jessica shows up because she left earlier.
Yep.
And like
with a car.
I was like, yes. Sigourney Weaver's the villain.
Okay, talk about a disappointment. By the way, she is wonderful. She
I know what you're going to say, though, because I felt the same way.
Right. She adds gravitas to every scene she was in. But then, we never got to see her fight. And they just kill her off for and
that was
like,
another
just
huge
like,
disappointment.
I was like, no, like when they killed off Cottonhead in the middle of Luke Cage's series, that was like a powerful transition.
Yes,
you know, that was
and
a transition.
I talk to people all the time, and they're like, Chris, if you're still watching, because Chris didn't like this at all.
Yeah,
and I thought it was amazing. Because I felt like they don't do that a lot of times, and they don't execute it as well as they did in Luke Cage.
Yeah,
where the real villain's transformation happens.
Yeah,
by killing off the first villain. Like it really
and
like
doors open. You know, like she didn't expect to kill her cousin, but all of a sudden when she did, when that fury inside her came out, everything started to change, and the real villain started to feel comfortable to come out of the shadows. And and then her little friend, not her friend, but her cousin's little friend was like, "Hey, you're kind of hot when you're murdering people. We can make things happen."
Man, so yeah, I was so disappointed that we didn't get to see her fight. So let me ask you this: how familiar with the comic material are you from this?
Yeah, a lot.
So, are the 5 fingers of the hand a thing in the comics?
Not originally.
Are these characters from the comics? The 5 that are the...
No, I mean, like, I think some of them are in the comics now.
Okay.
But not these characters. So, we got something more... I'm sure they've done the 5 fingers in a hand before, but not like this.
I really liked this.
Yes. And I like that Sigourney Weaver was not Danny's mom.
Yes, because I know that we had talked about that. Yeah. You kind of thought that she was. I liked this. I liked this story more. They were from Kunlun. Kunlun. The masters of Kunlun were trying to figure out a way to restore life and to continue life. And this small sect of people, these 5 people, wanted to use it for their own power. And they left Kunlun, and they've and
by the way, story-wise, I was a little all over the place. Okay, number 1, when they originally discussed their motivations, they said we want to return home. That's not true at all, right? They don't want to return home. They want to continue their immortal reigns. Because ultimately their goal wasn't to get a portal back to Kunlun. It was to open up a secret cavern to give them more resources to stay immortal. So that one kind of had me in a loop. The other is the way that Elektra talked to Danny about, and I murdered them all, as if she had been to Kunlun and murdered them all, and that's why he can't find the city. But I don't know.
So he has that vision at the beginning in the first episode.
Yeah.
Where all of the monks are killed.
Yes.
And I thought that was a
premonition.
A premonition. Like this
well,
is
maybe
what could
it was
happen.
Actually a spiritual.
And then the more they talked about it, it's like, and then the more the series went on, it was like, oh, did that actually happen?
Yeah.
So I'm a little, because I thought too that they wanted to return to Kunlun, but maybe it's.
Maybe they meant it metaphorically.
You know what it could have been. Maybe the priests are dead.
Right, but they want to take the city over.
Well, and they need to get the immortal, the stuff that makes them immortal, so that they can reign in Kunlun forever. It might be part of it. So
I know, but the way by the way, Madame Gao was the best of the villains. By the way,
my gosh,
absolutely. I mean, if it were for in every,
I do like what's his name, Kabuto.
Kabuto was cool, and Kabuto had a good storyline here too.
I actually liked all of them in some way or another.
No, they were good. By the way, I call him the new guy, right? But did we meet him before in Daredevil, and then he just got a haircut, or they replaced the actor?
Who?
The one who only spoke in Japanese.
No, I don't think we've ever met him before.
Okay, because there was the guy from the hand that we met in season 2 of Daredevil, right? And he's the one who puts Elektra in the cocoon at the end of season 2 of Daredevil, and then
maybe that is him.
And I'm like, is this the same dude? I'm like, I'm not sure what's happening here.
I don't think so, but possibly.
And then of course, the Defenders final episode drops a secret trailer for Punisher. Just wanted to bring that up.
Really?
Yes. I mean, if you saw the trailer for Punisher online, you did. But if you saw it online, it was because it was hidden in the final episode of The Defenders.
I saw the trailer where he's slamming.
Yeah, that's the one hidden at the final episode.
Oh, is it at the end of the
yeah,
credits?
like so
something?
the credits start rolling at the end of the credits. It's that.
Okay. Another slightly disappointing thing is Frank did not show up.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was going to show up at some point.
I feel like he's got some stuff to work out.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, there's a lot of people who didn't show. I was surprised when Danny went to Rand Enterprises. I understood. Oh, what's his name is out of town, but he didn't ask about Joy at all.
Yeah, that was the other weird thing. Is I was a little. I don't see him on here.
All right, so the actor hasn't shown up before, but go back and see if his character has shown up before.
Yeah, he was definitely not in Daredevil. Charlie Cox, by the way, is such a great actor.
Oh my God, he is Daredevil. He's so good.
Like, I'll tell you, I really feel like he reminds me of like Robert Downey Jr. in the movie universe. Like he's the one forging the path and taking, and everybody's taking the cues from him, and he's really like leading not only the team in the show but like the actors as well. Like I just feel like I don't know. I feel really good about his. Was it the last episode?
No, he's in a few of them, but yeah, go to the last episode.
So,
you know he's in it.
Because that's the one where he puts. No, it's the other guy. It's the one who he fights.
Yeah.
It's Nobu.
Okay, right, but I was gonna say he's such a prominent member of the Hand, and he lives. Like
I guess he did live.
So I'm just like, why haven't we seen him again?
Oh
my God, I forgot about Carrie Ann Moss.
I was going to say I was surprised that Jerry Hogarth wasn't in this series.
What do you mean? She was.
Jerry?
Yes.
She's not. She wasn't in Defenders.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not.
Oh my God, she has a. The only thing. Well, she's not among the people who get hidden. Which you would think by now her relationship with Jessica, she would have been one of the people hidden.
Did I miss an episode? Because she was not in it.
I thought she was in the beginning.
She was not in it.
Oh, you know what?
What's his Foggy says
Foggy
Hogarth.
mentions her.
Yeah,
Foggy
because he works.
Yes,
for
he
them
works
now.
for her now. Yeah, don't you think if you were Jessica, would you go and hide her or what?
Maybe.
But she kind of knows how to take care of herself.
Yeah, she kind of knows how to take care of herself.
Manipulative wench she is.
Costumes in this were great too. I really felt like they.
Well, the only real costume is Daredevil's.
Well, no, but every time Luke Cage, he's got the yellow T-shirt and then the hoodie with the yellow inside.
Yep.
And even after one gets wrecked, he goes and he gets another one.
I gotta tell you, my favorite really was just so excited in the final moments to see Danny in the modern jumpsuit. I love that. And in the comics, Danny is one of the people who actually posed as Daredevil when Matt Murdock was in jail.
Really?
And Elektra had this massive fight with him over the rooftops. She's like, I know you're not him. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. And then she goes right for his chest with the sai, and he destroys it with the iron fist. And she goes, I knew it. And of course,
do you think he's going to take on the mantle of Daredevil?
No. Well, that would be. Listen.
What if Iron Fist season 2 is actually Daredevil season 3? I'm just kidding.
I mean,
they'll never do that. Because we got to find out what happens to Matt.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, if he runs around as Daredevil, I would love that because of the nod to the comics. Yeah. But I think the way he was behaving, he's just going to show up as
Iron Fist.
As Iron Fist.
But overall, I really enjoyed this series. It was satisfying, and I thought that it was really well done, very well directed. I thought the performances were great. I appreciate Danny Rand a whole lot more now.
I do, and I just, because I'm okay with he's still a 10-year-old boy trapped in there. What the hell was he supposed to learn? All they did was train him and discipline him from the age of 10 to 20-something, right? No one, offered him anything else. So I just, so I'm like, yeah, I expect this, clueless, immature guy running around New York City, not really getting the way the world kind of works.
Yeah, but overall, a big woo for me.
A pretty big woo for me too.
No plans for season 2 of Defenders.
Well, now that Disney dropped that bomb that they're gonna do all their stuff on their own streaming service. Which, by the way, I don't know how I feel about all these individual streaming services. Warner Brothers has their own service. CBS with their own service. Disney doing the Disney Marvel their own service.
Well, that'll have Star Wars too.
I know
It'll have.
And then what happens to these shows? Do they just transfer over? Do they just sit on Netflix forever, and then the new seasons appear on the other service? You know,
I mean, that's a great question.
Clearly, Netflix's rebuttal to this was buying out Mark Millar's world, or Millar World.
But
Miller
Netflix
World.
also said that they're still in talks with Disney to try to keep this stuff on there. And I'm assuming they mean this stuff because
it has to be this
because
stuff.
Netflix has said that these shows, like they do very well for them, and people finish these shows within a week.
Yes. I mean, I finished it in a freaking, 2 days. And my friend's like, why are you binging so hard? And I was like, because A, the risk of this being ruined for me is like triple the normal person. And B, we actually want to review it.
Yeah. So big woo for me. You excited about Punisher?
I like the actor. I like what they did with him on Daredevil. I wouldn't say I'm excited because I'm just not a Punisher fan.
Okay.
But I mean, I've got to check it out. I'm gonna binge watch that too. Just probably not with the level of excitement I had for this series.
I'm excited. I like I forgot his name. I forgot the actor's name. But
the Walking Dead guy. And that's so rude of me. I'm sorry.
So I'm excited about that. So let's move on to what did we play, and we're gonna talk about the new HeroClix rules. I love that it coincided with the solar eclipse.
I know, so they could do this.
So they could do this funny. Adam, can we throw the full screen? Yeah, new HeroClix rules have arrived. Apparently, it had to be during the eclipse, but so new core rulebook.
Not for the ROC this weekend, thank God.
That is correct. And in fact, these rules do not become official until 1 week after the Thor set releases.
Yes, so September.
And I believe Thor releases a week from today.
Yep.
So September will be September 6th, I believe, is the first day that these new rules will be in effect. And
I can't believe how hype I am for the Thor set. I just keep seeing hammers and characters.
Yeah.
Patrick designed Beta Ray Bill. I was like, yay!
Beta Ray Bill is one of my favorite characters, and I'm very excited.
And tell me he didn't do a great job with that.
If he doesn't show up in the Marvel Cosmic Universe, I'm going to be very upset.
No, he should. He should.
And the thing, and I don't know if you noticed, but there's a theory going out that the planet that Star-Lord goes to in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, when he dances with that skeleton, looks an awful lot like
one of his people,
Beta Ray Bill's species.
Yeah.
So they dropped a new core rulebook. They also dropped a quick start rule set, a turn sequence card, which I think is fantastic.
Our new comprehensive rules
for judges.
Yep.
And a brand new powers and abilities card.
And then, for team abilities, a section in the forums, because that's classy.
So, I will tell you, the reason why they do this is because they're...
All I have is faces over here, I just want you to know.
That's okay, I'm just going to tell you guys, and then Cliff can make whatever faces. So, one of the major reasons why team abilities are so... sort of lacklustery, if that's a word.
I don't find them the support is lackluster. The use of team abilities is of grand importance. Listen, I'm going to be a savage about this because this whole effort is about inclusiveness for new players. This is still not that when you do this with the team abilities. But anyhow, please go ahead.
So the reason why there is no printout of the team abilities is for the simple reason, and this may not be the only reason, but this is certainly the major reason, is because they are not allowed to print anything Marvel and DC on the same thing.
Right, so Marvel starter kit comes with the Marvel team abilities. DC starter kit comes with the DC team abilities.
That's not a bad idea.
Which is what they used to do. So I'm disgusted, and again, it's not like, oh my god, I hate it, oh, I'm gonna quit the game. I'm just disgusted because everything is about an inclusion for new players. This is like paramount against that, and it really infuriates me. And you got all these figures that new players are just opening out of the box, and they're just like, oh, what does this thing with the bat symbol mean? That you can hide in freaking stealth, and it's awesome. And you would know this if the freaking starter kit had it.
Let's talk a little bit about the new rules. First up, I want to mention a couple of major changes.
Only a couple? My head is still spinning from some of the changes.
So before we get into specific powers and stuff, and I don't want to talk about all of them, but I just like maybe we'll touch on some really important ones, some big changes. But as far as the actual gameplay goes, the first thing I wanted to mention was that there's a new, which I think is a great change, is when you place the action token on the character.
Okay.
So, which this is something that a lot of us experienced higher level players have been doing anyway, and I feel like this is a great move to actually solidify this in the rulebook. You place the action token on the character when the action is given. Immediately, once the action is given, then you resolve the action, or you resolve all the actions, or as they call in the rulebooks, resolutions. Mm-hmm. And then after that, if the character has 2 action tokens, they take the pushing damage, if it's applicable.
Yeah,
which I think is great, because number one, that saves on there's never going to be a question or a mistake about, oh, when did I give an action token to this character or that character, whatever. The other thing I recommend too when you're playing HeroClix is, and I learned this at King's Games in Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to Mac. Hey Mac. Is they actually make players use one color action token on one turn and then a different color action token on the other. And that is fantastic, because then there's no question what should clear. If you've just given out all of my, I use the Ninja Turtle action tokens and the Justice League action tokens usually. So if I give the blue and white tokens on the next turn, I give all the green tokens, then I know, oh, all the white ones will clear. So during my opponent's turn, if there's a white token on somebody, the opponent and I both know, oh, that should have cleared on the last turn. And I highly recommend doing that. And that even means replacing the token. So if you have one token on it and you give it another action, so at the end of the turn it's got 2, take that token away and put 2 of the color for that turn. I highly recommend doing that. It makes it a lot simpler, a lot easier for you to track and for your opponent to track as well. The other thing I wanted to mention too was the what was the other thing I wanted to mention? The sequence card. So
that's cool.
So the sequence card is very cool because it clearly states the order of everything. So you have beginning of game sequence, reveal forces, and establish theme teams. Done. One thing. The other thing I wanted to mention was at force construction. Mm-hmm. There now is set rules for sidelines and for what begins the game on your force. And so you have your starting force, which is all the characters that go onto the map at the beginning of the game, and then you have your starting sideline. And if there are no characters, if there are no characters in play, if there are characters that have traits that say at the beginning of the game, and they do not start on the map, then those effects are lost because you only check that once now. So for instance, monthly OP Green Arrow that begins the game with 5 Trick Arrow tokens. Yep. When you call him in with an ID card, you no longer get those tokens because that is a beginning of game effect, and we've already passed that stage. Very cool. I like that very much. It cleans everything up. Well, it cleans most things up. Reveal force and establish theme team. Roll for first player. Choose map and starting areas. Place characters, then objects. So this is another change that happened. Is the previous order was player 1 Actually, player 1 placed one object. Player 2 placed another object. Player 3, player 1 placed their second object, back and forth, and then you would place your forces on the map, I believe. That's how it went. But there was the alternating objects. Now it is player 1 places their force, player 2 places their force, player 1 places their objects, player 2 places their objects.
I think that makes more sense anyway.
Yes. Then beginning of game effects are triggered, and then we go into turn 1, first player's turn. Turn sequence, beginning of turn phase. So anything that happens at the beginning of the turn happens there.
Yep. Poison and Outwit still work.
Poison and Outwit.
Yep. If you read it,
Do work.
Yep. You can poison and outwit. I think it's you can't sidestep it.
We'll have to double check on that because I thought that there was I believe poison.
The way they had worded it 10 or 11 months ago.
No, but the thing is that it's an action, and actions can only happen during the action phase, even free action.
Okay, we got to pull them
so
out. The way they're worded, it doesn't
beginning
sound
of
like
turn.
it's
No, but beginning of turn phase is anything that states at the beginning of your turn do this. So there's no longer free actions during the beginning of your turn. Is what it is. So I don't believe you can know. Well, no, you can still outwit and poison because those are free actions now.
Yes.
Because poison is no longer at the beginning of your turn.
Right.
It's if the character. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second. So then the action phase, then the end of turn phase, then the clear phase. Move sequence. This is. I mean, they broke everything down. Move sequence, effects that trigger before moving or when beginning of movement or close variations. Choosing characters to carry. Breakaway, which if fails ends the sequence. Calculating speed value if applicable. Move the character. Movement ends and move resolves.
An action sequence.
Then the attack sequence. Determine targets. Calculate attack total. Determine hits. Calculate damage dealt. Damage sequence, which is another sequence to come up. Knockback, attack resolves. Damage sequence. Start with damage dealt. Reduce. Actually, let me throw this up on the screen so people can sort of see this. Start with damage dealt. Reduce to get damage taken. Click damage taken. Check for KO. Knockback sequence. A character is knocked back X squares. This is pretty similar. The character's been knocked back X squares. Another character occupies the next square. Blocking terrain occupies or just before the next square. The next square would be past the edge of the map. The next square is
higher elevation.
What he said. The previous square was a higher elevation. You've fallen. One knockback damage is dealt for. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's jump into the PAC a little bit and see some of the really important major changes. So, let's look at poison.
Yep.
So free, if this character hasn't moved or been placed this turn, deal 1 damage to all adjacent opposing characters.
Yep. An outwit over there.
So, and it's key to note that free capitalized implies a free action.
Yep.
Okay. Outwit says free, minimum range value 6. Choose a power, standard or special, and a target opposing character within range and line of fire. The target can't use the chosen power until your next turn.
Yep.
So what's great about Outwit is that it doesn't matter if they have the power or not. It doesn't matter if they possess it or can use it. They're not going to get it, which is great, which is how Outwit should work. So these are free actions, and it is my understanding, and we can address the rulebook here, that the action sequence is when actions are issued, and that the here we go, actions. So free. So giving an action is always optional. There are 5 different actions, including free actions. So you can. You can't sidestep and poison because
you're right,
the
but
character
outwit
can't be moved.
and poison
but you can
still
outwit.
work together.
You can outwit and poison, yes.
Yes.
Because as long as you don't move or place the character that is about to do the poisoning, you can. So what's interesting about that is that you could have another character attack a target and then poison them after that, which is interesting. Outwit and then poison them. So another power I wanted to mention too is mind control. So close range, which implies a closer range action. Minimum range value 4, make a close or range attack. Instead of normal damage, a hit character halves speed and becomes friendly to your force, and may in either order move and or make an attack, then reverts forces.
Yeah, you get to move them and you get to attack with them.
That is insane.
And you don't take damage for mind control.
Yes.
Like, okay.
So it's interesting to me what they've seemed to
That
do.
Moon Dragon from Avengers Defenders is a whole different piece now, isn't she?
So it seems to me that they are really they're bringing out some of these lesser used powers and really making them a little bit more powerful.
I mean, doesn't she have 3 targets? Like, moving and attacking with 3 people is like crazy.
The only problem is that you can't attack each other because they're all.
I know, but it's like,
force.
oh look, I got your 3 little sidekicks here. I'm gonna launch all of them at your Hakeem. You know, like. Oh, you like haha Joker a whole lot, don't you? Yeah. Not when he's hitting you.
So here's some things that at the beginning of the turn. So for instance, leadership at the beginning of your turn. So this is at the beginning of your turn phase. So this is before you can do actions. For all characters that can use this power, action total +1.
That's so insane. Rule of 3 is still in play, according to the rule book, right?
Are you sure?
Yeah,
because that's not modifying a combat value, and that's what the rule of 3 applies to.
Double check the rule of 3 over there.
What's it on? Number 19 or something?
I think it's on 19.
Yeah, here we go. Rule of 3. Whenever the sum of all modifiers applied to a single combat value is greater than +3 or less than -3, the sum of all modifiers is instead +3 or -3, respectively. All modifiers continue to apply to the combat value, but their sum is changed. Note that this rule does not apply to replacement values, which can change the printed combat value by more than 3 before any modifiers. This applies only to 5 combat values: speed, attack, defense, damage, and range. Any other value in HeroClix, including damage dealt and the result of D6 rolls, do not have modifiers applied to them and don't have this restriction.
Okay, so I could build a little force, okay, of a whole bunch of leaders, right? And 10-point thugs.
So what I
can have, like, in a 300-point game, I could have, like, 20 actions?
Well, here's the thing. Well, yeah, but you're not going to have 20 characters.
10-point thugs.
Oh, 10-point thugs? Actually, no, you should play those 15-point lizards and apes. Because those things are bonkers.
I hate them, too.
Yeah.
By the way, you know what's so funny? Like, people complaining online that this is ruining the game, when I'm like, are you ridiculous? Those lizards and apes and Sinestros and Dormammu's are ruining the game, and everyone thinks I'm crazy. Not everyone, but a good deal of people think I'm crazy when I say that.
So at the beginning of your turn, for all characters that can use this power, action total +1. So here's the thing, though, because this is my first question: is for all characters that can use this power, action total +1. Does that mean that for everybody you only get +1? So you're only going to go from 3 to 4 actions in a 300-point game? Because they've used similar wording.
For all characters that can use this power, action total +1.
In other words, it doesn't matter if you have 3 leaders.
Okay,
for all of them, you're only going to get +1.
Right. That's way better than me thinking like, whatever.
That's what I think they're saying.
I hope so, because that's crazy.
And
And at the beginning of the turn, you may roll a D6 on a result of 5 or 6. Remove an action token from an adjacent friendly character that has less points, or shares a
keyword. Yes. So now that Ninja Turtles Leonardo, that's the same points as his buddies, he's suddenly better. There's a lot of figures like that in the past have been like they're the same point value that you want to take that token off.
And all the characters that have ability similar to this now, it is more wasted points. So good for them. So there's a lot of characters that do suffer from a lot of these changes. The world's finest duo, There's no more duo attack.
In Modern Age, that is correct.
Right, but
in Golden Age,
right,
they still retain that power.
That piece is a modern piece.
Correct.
And it is hardly... I was sad that people weren't using it before, and now I'm guaranteed.
I'll be honest with you. I very rarely ever use duo attack with a duo attack figure.
So there's one. Then there's the damage depletion modifier is gone. All for modern.
Really?
Yep. So now that that Hawkeye that can run around shooting people. Yeah, he can shoot people for 2 over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's new. Transporters.
Transporters are gone.
Transporters are gone. Anyone who had those transporter symbols nerfed. And the Submariner or Namor ID card grants you, as the inspiration, the transporter freaking ability. Guess what? Sucks to be you now.
But doesn't it give you the dolphin transporter?
Yes.
So you're going to get the dolphin symbol.
Oh, right. But you don't get the hypersonic speed.
No, but did you see what the dolphin symbol gives you now?
Let's see. Maybe it'll impress me.
Modify defense +1 against ranged attacks if this character occupies water terrain.
You know darn well that's not as cool as getting hypersonic in a water map from freaking,
Well,
Namor's
it's not
inspiration.
it's hypersonic with -2 to attack.
I know, but it's still amazing. And also, like,
okay.
and also whatever name, I can't remember the whole Namor ID card, but it was really good. Yeah. And now ID cards, all of a sudden, it's like, what are they? I do not like the changes to ID cards. I do not.
Really?
Yeah, because like before you had to have no actions on you. Now you can have an action. The way they've worded it, the level 7 ID card, it doesn't even matter anymore because you just have to be equal to or greater points than who you summon in. The name has to match the name. So now Cosmic Spidey is useless, which I guess is okay because that's something I guess people...
I was going to say, I would have thought you would have been happy about that change.
I mean, I kind of, but like the things that are bothering me in the game right now, none of them are suffering. None. All that Colossal Retaliation that's got me like sick, it's like I have to like live with it for the next year or two, and they've made even more Colossal Retaliation because we're getting tons of Colossals in Thor. So, and then like all these things, if you look at it, almost everything from What If is nerfed, although I defend that we get a lot of Punishers in What If. Of course, a lot of things that I love from World's Finest kind of take a little bit of a dip. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little miffed because there are things in Modern that are suffering for this, and I'm like, wow, this was an assault on Modern a little bit, and I'm just like, okay.
But the thing is that it's an assault on the current Modern. These rules are definitely they're developing sets 6 months, a year out.
They say 10 months every time. That's their motto.
And so they got to drop the new rules sometime to get us used to it.
I am okay with it. I told you, I'm not playing the game over it. I'm just saying, for an initiative that is supposed to be based on being new player friendly, I just wish there was more of new player friendliness.
By the way, one slight negative on this. So new player friendly. Do you know how many pages the current rule book is? Not this one.
Yeah, the current one was like 25
27 pages.
27 pages.
Guess how many pages this new rule book is?
How many?
34 or 35.
Yeah, and the comprehensive rule book.
Well, that's fine. You can make that as big because but I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the old I made a binder. I have a binder over there too.
Yeah.
And so the comprehensive rulebook can be as large as it needs to be because that's for judge guidance. That's part of our responsibility to know those things, know the game, so that we can use precedents to make rulings during tournaments.
And of course, because it's public information for all of our players to throw it against us with their own binders.
True. They do cover. They do cover a lot of stuff though, and maybe it's just me that they included a lot more in this rulebook.
Yeah, they did.
But this rulebook is 36 pages.
Yep.
And that does include like the sequence.
But look, a lot of it was needed. I love the sequence card. I like it. There's so many things I like. I don't know.
Are there more things that you like?
More things I like. That's why I'm not flipping out. But the things I don't like, I'm pretty ticked off about. Tiny size, the carrying thing. They kind of put a dampener on Green Lantern.
So the carry.
Yeah, you -1 for everyone you carry, and it doesn't matter. And tiny size means nothing now. When you carry, they count as a person. That's it.
Where is carry? Where does the... Oh, here we go. Passenger. This character can use the carry ability to carry up to X characters, including characters that are the same size that don't have
the wing symbol.
The wing symbol.
That's
including characters that are the same size. Modify. Oh, so you don't get...
Yeah, you get no other bonuses. You can't fire over tiny-sized people anymore. They count as being in the way.
Really?
Yep. The only thing about tiny is they modify their defense by +1 against range attacks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
They changed mystics to penetrating instead of unavoidable.
Oh yeah, let's look at a couple of the team abilities. So, Green Lantern Corps, so they can carry 8 passengers.
Right, and get -1 for each passenger. So that's a -3 to your flight if you're carrying 3 people.
Where does it? It doesn't say that though.
Because you got to look up carry in the rule book.
No, but there. So flight gives you.
You could
gives you do
and carry
1.
Yep. So
and
go
then
to the rule
passenger is this character can use the carry ability.
Yep. Now look up the carry ability.
Why isn't the character ability on this card?
You would think, but they didn't do it that way. So.
Hang on, carry. Before beginning movement, you may choose one adjacent friendly character of smaller size that isn't a vehicle. If you do, for this move, modify speed -1 for each character chosen. When movement ends, place the chosen character adjacent if possible. If you do, the chosen character can't be given a costed action this turn. To carry, neither character can be holding an object or pick one up. So that's slightly different too, because you could carry an object and a character at the same time, but the character being carried couldn't have an object.
Right, but now I'm a Green Lantern. I carry 3 people, -3 to my movement when I carry them.
That's crazy. Why wouldn't they give the Green Lantern Corps like
an exemption, right? But you look at the Green Lantern Corps, no exemption. They can passenger. You can carry 8 people. Thankfully, the rule of 3, as you pointed out, replying to stats, it doesn't go below 3.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad.
It's not too bad, but it's Green Lantern Corps is not as hot as it used to be. Oh, look, guys, I have 12 movement. This is amazing. And oh, wait, all you tiny size guys count? Oh, this sucks. Oh, I'm only going to move 9. We did it, guys. We moved up.
I mean... Yeah, I don't know. I think it's still pretty good.
It's pretty good. I just don't like how it affects them.
I guess so my feelings on rule changes like this is I'm like, I like the way they did this. I like the way that they're delivering this. I like that they're making a big deal out of it. I like that they're doing sidekick events.
Brand new sidekick events.
I love that they're actively trying to streamline the game, that they listen to player feedback. They gave us all this information ahead of time, months ahead of time, and then took our feedback and revamped certain things. I really appreciate that. And the thing is that, like I said, 10 months down the road, I think after rotation next year is when this will really settle out.
I'm sure.
I think is really when we're going to see it settle into the way it's going to be.
Also, I'm like really freaked out. Like, right now we throw Silver Age games for fun. Yeah. I'm like really freaked out like how we're going to handle that after this because because there's all those characters. Like, you may want to use your... So now, is the format... Like, are we literally going to have a wildly different format, an old rules format, just because people want to use duo attack and transporters?
So, yeah, well, the answer is yes. But look at Magic is the longest collectible game that there's been, okay? We're over 20 years of Magic. HeroClix is 15 years. They're not that far behind, okay? And you look at Magic, you look at Legacy, Modern, Standard, they are wildly different formats because of that. And that's why they have those different formats and why they're successful in their own ways. And I think that...
I find them wildly different in what you're able to use. But at the end of the day, I tap for an effect. I tap mana to cast things. Like, all of that is the same forever.
Right, but the thing is you'll have staple cards or cards that you could only use in Legacy, certain lands that do certain things, like that those effects are no longer in Standard.
Which is fine, but they're all self-explanatory. You know, if I played in Modern or Legacy an ally deck, like the ally cards all say ally, blah, 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 blah. You know, like it's all very self-explanatory, and I still tap for mana to cast my ally dude and do my effects. This is like different. It's like, oh, we're playing this game. Oh, you're using a transporter. Oh, yes, it's older rules are okay. You can use the transporter ability and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I'm just saying, like, that's not the easiest thing.
Well, the thing is just like moving forward, when you play with those characters, you have to, you know, like Modern Age rules say this. So when you play Modern, transporters don't matter.
Yep.
If you play a Modern Age figure that has a transporter symbol, it does nothing. Okay. Well, it gives you whatever the inherent symbol is. So if it's a dolphin transporter, you have dolphin. When you play Silver Age games, Golden Age games, those effects and abilities are there. You know? And so I think what we may find is, and I'm hoping this is the case, is that I think we can now start having separate tournaments for separate formats. Because, I mean, remember a few years ago when they had the Golden Age tournament?
Well, up until now,
and they had
whoever threw a Golden Age tournament. I don't remember.
WizKids had a world championship
with Golden Age.
With Golden Age,
that was a long time ago because I don't remember.
No, this was 2013, 2014. And no, I'm sorry. This was 2013, I think. Okay. And
but Battlefield conditions and everything.
I think they banned some stuff.
I was gonna say, like, I'm just
I
saying,
think it was Golden Age figures only.
They announced Golden Age and all this stuff and blah blah blah, and then there was no tournaments for Golden Age. Like, only if your venue threw it, and then venues, we came up with the term Silver Age on our own, which meant carded figures. And I'm just saying, like, they have shown no support for other formats, and I don't have faith in them to show support.
Well, let's
for
be
other
honest.
Formats.
They don't support tournament play in general fairly well. Okay. They've only in the last 2 or 3 years have done their WizKids Opens.
Yes,
and
which they should.
And then only in the last year has it been constructed, I believe. Before that, it was sealed, and possibly even still sealed.
Yeah,
I know there was a little bit of a shipping nightmare the first year they did it, and so they wanted to back off on sealed. But I think this is an opportunity for them to grow the game. I've had a personal conversation with Justin, the president of WizKids, about this very thing. And unfortunately for them, it's just a resources thing. They don't have the resources to support this kind of thing.
All right, so basically, kind of reinforcing my point, and it's fine. The one positive here is overall, I believe we're going to have a good opportunity to bring in new players. Let's all learn these rules together. I'm down for that. It's just other things that have left me. I don't know. I don't even want to be like the biggest negative Nelly because I see all these people.
Well, you're the biggest negative Nelly on this show, but that's okay.
I'm the biggest negative Nelly on the show, but I mean,
to be honest, I also don't play as much as you, and I don't play against as competitive people as you.
Frequently. Oh my god, which is a freaking nightmare.
And or else I would probably have the same opinions. But and to be honest with you, I've kind of come around. I started off as a huge fan of this game because I got into it with Star Trek HeroClix, with the ships and stuff. Then I found out, oh well, they're not really modern age, so we don't really play with them. I'm like, all right, whatever. So then I said, all right, well, I'll buy into the superhero stuff. So I bought the superhero stuff. I started building teams. I started doing it. I got really competitive into it. Started going to ROC. Started play, and I used to play with some of the best players.
And now you're gonna have some legit Star Trek guys coming to you too.
Yes, the only thing I care about is how this is going to affect my Star Trek, the original series figures. That's all I'm going to care about.
The new original series figures are what, November, I think?
Not soon enough.
I know, but you're good. You'll be okay. I'm sure of that.
I think that this is, and so I used to be really competitive, And then I became a tournament organizer and a judge. And then I saw the other side of
And his heart softened, everybody.
I saw the other side of how competitive play can hurt the growth of a community. And had several arguments with some of my, more competitive players, and seen a transition and a cycle and a revolving door of different players and new players and old players and everything, and then people who have really settled in. And then I see, and then I've gone back, and then I was even in a period where I just don't want to play the game anymore, because it's just like whenever I play, I want to play fun stuff, and I play against competitive players, and they always bring,
Like, you don't even know what I'm putting myself through over Saturday's game. Like, you don't even know. Like, you don't know how
by the way, that's the ROC Super Qualifier we have coming up this Saturday here in Catskill, New York, at Kerwin's Game Store.
Like, Hakeem and Supreme Intelligence are, like, sitting on my dresser, staring me down every night. Like, who are you going to pair up with us? Oh, Brainiac, of course. Because you know.
Of course.
Brainiac is there, ready to possess Hakeem with the freaking Supreme Intelligence. And I just keep thinking, is this going to be enough? Am I really going to be able to do this? Can I do this? Can Pulsewave save me? Should I try to turn this into a theme team so I can get roles against other people? Because JSA is really cheap, and maybe if there's just some way I can support Hakeem enough, I can do it, and I can just penetrate through. I just don't want to come in 32nd place again.
But here's the thing. So I went through that stage, and then I said, you know what? If I want to play the game, I got to play the game. If I want to have fun against competitive players, I need to do one of two things.
I wish I had a boxing ring just to make everyone miserable.
I need to either choose to lose and not let it affect me, or I need to choose to play better and to be better at the game, and to not stop playing the game until the game is over. Because a lot of times, a lot of players, and I know that there's some of you out there watching this, you go up against a player you know is really good, or that always beats you, or that is the best guy in your store, and they get the alpha strike off and decimate, a third of your team, and you say, well, I've lost this game. No, you haven't, because the game's not over. So play the rest of the game. Outposition them. Try to think what they're going to do in a couple of steps. See where your pieces are weakest and how they're going to take advantage of that, and then eliminate that possibility. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can outposition. You can
barriers galore.
You can use powers and abilities. There's a lot of things you can do, and that's how I get. And now I come and I play the figures I want to play, and I make sure that they're good enough teams so that when I play somebody who's competitive, I have fun. And maybe I'll beat them. And if I don't, I've played the best I can, and I had fun. And you know what's happened? Is now when I play the best player in our store, or when I play somebody who's super competitive, we have really good close games. And I've won the last 3.
Good.
Just some advice.
A year from now when he's playing and I'm not, it's going to be...
I have been itching to get back into competitive play, especially. I am determined to make, like Ricky from Rochester, who made Worm a name at Nationals and Worlds, and here at our States Championship, I want to make Star Trek HeroClix competitive. That's what I'm going to do. That's my goal. Next year, I'm going to Worlds with
you know what my dream is every night? Every night I drive myself crazy. What I would love to do, I want the reporters to win. I want the reporters to decimate.
Yeah.
And you know what really sucks? The freaking Green Lantern, who's actually a reporter, the one who could carry everybody, doesn't have the reporter keyword.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm dead serious. The Alan Scott that should have reporter as a keyword doesn't.
From Earth 2?
From Earth 2.
From Earth 2, because he owned that. He was like the Cat Grant of that universe.
And the other version that doesn't have the Green Lantern team ability has the reporter keyword. Right? Do you know how amazing it is with Foggy and Lois and I forgot the other one's name. But like Lois nullifies your team ability if she's within 4 of you and can see you. Bye, Power Cosmic. I forgot what Foggy's is. It's like you can't get power actions, I think. You can't have a power action if he targets you. But anyhow, there's 3 of them that are absolutely horrifying effects if you can get them out there. And I would have to do a non-theme team to try and make them work.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you come and bring that team one day, and I'll give you the theme team. I'll say, You can have
No, I'm not going to do it. I want it to work the way it works. I want it to work the correct way.
Is it foggy?
Yeah, foggy.
Foggy.
Trust me, I'm a lawyer.
Cannot have their powers countered or combat ability values decreased.
Oh, that's somebody with you.
Yes. That's an adjacent friendly character.
Hit the reporter keyword.
Where is it?
Oh, wait, Foggy's not a reporter. No, what's his name? Is Ben Urich. Ben Urich is a reporter. He's not a reporter, he's a lawyer.
Ben Urich, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, why was I thinking Foggy?
Avengers.
There we go.
Here we go. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire until your next turn. That character can't use Mastermind or Shape Change.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now hit the reporter one so we can see some of the other fun ones. Okay, April O'Neil. Look, freelance reporter.
At the beginning of your turn, you may choose an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire until your next turn. That character can't be targeted with perplex or probability control from a character friendly to it.
Yep. April from Half Shell. Oh, no, not that one. April O'Neil from yeah.
Heroes in a Half Shell. Oh, this one.
The world needs to know your crimes.
You may choose an opposing character within 4 squares in line of fire until your next turn. That character subtracts 2 from its breakaway rules. What?
Yep. Now scroll down.
So, by the way, on a side note, let me just double check plasticity because I think this is going to be crazy if this is correct. So, plasticity says breakaway +2, adjacent opposing characters get breakaway
-2.
-2. Adjacent opposing characters are the same. Oh, so breakaway is a roll.
Yep.
It's a d6 roll. So, all right. So that would be a wash. Okay. So in the rules, they specify that rolls are not affected by the rule of 3.
Right. So April and plasticity, that person can't get away. It's kind of horrifying, isn't it?
Oh, that's right. Subtracts 2 from its breakaway rolls. With plasticity, subtracts another 2.
Yep.
Woo!
So guess what? I think they're going. Guess what? I think they might be fixing soon.
Woo!
Guess what? I think they might be fixing soon.
What's that?
I think they would be fixing this because I bet they weren't thinking about this.
I don't know. I mean,
well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna look. We're not gonna.
Somebody would have brought this up between the time that they announced. Well, they may not have announced that specific thing,
but I'm going to tell you, we're not going to know this ROC because it's still the current rules.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the next major event we have, whether it's ROC or WizKids sponsored or whatever it is, we're going to start seeing every loophole exploited.
Yep.
And probably much worse than the stuff I'm seeing here.
Well, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to see how the rules are going to be, how they're going to develop, and what we're going to see play style wise. So we do have an ROC coming up this weekend.
Yep.
We also have some other events coming up. Let me just quickly go to the kerwinsgamestore.com page, and
For
we'll take
all
a look
of
here.
your amazing needs.
Woo. There's our Super Qualifier banner right there.
Yeah.
So if you click on events,
and our Metaworthy articles.
from Jacob. Yeah, I meant to plug that last week. So our buddy Jacob is doing a new series for us called Metaworthy, where he dives into the new rules. He's already talked about the new Outwit and the new object rules. And specifically, he mentions characters that are affected, or usually it's characters that are going to get better with those, characters that have some interesting effects with those, and then characters that are probably not going to be very good. So he really covers the gambit there. So you can see if your favorite figure is one that might not work so well with it, or if it's one that surprisingly does. You'll get a chance to see that, and hopefully he's going to keep that up every other week or so. I think he's got a new one coming out this week. Now that the new rules have been released. One thing we're going to try to do also is I think we're going to try to start a rules explanation series where we're actually just going to start right from the beginning of how to play HeroClix from the start. We'll do some quick videos explaining different parts of the rules of the game. So if you have any new players that want to get into it and they're looking for a nice, concise rules series. I think we're going to try to put one together for you guys and for your friends. So, also, we highly recommend you go to your local game store's Sidekick nights.
Yes.
That should be starting in September.
Absolutely. Yes.
Here at KerwinsGameStore.com, we have such events coming up. In fact, a week from tonight is the Mighty Thor release. We're going to have a sealed release under the current rules.
What does that mean for us? We're going to have an early show?
Possibly an early show. Or maybe we'll just play as the show.
Ooh.
We'll
finally play on Read.Watch.Play.
Yeah, to see how the scheduling goes. We may just do... probably Cliff or I will always be on camera with another player. We'll play a game. We'll talk about the pieces and the figures. Talk to the other players if they're willing. And we'll see. I was thinking that we might do that. Unless your schedule will allow an early show. But we can talk about that off camera. We also have coming up on September 2nd is our Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship Qualifier Regional. So if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, check that out. Pre-register now on our website, KerwinsGameStore.com. On the 3rd, we're going to start our new rules workshop for HeroClix. We're just going to start right off the bat and just do a nice leisurely workshop. Hopefully you can come for that at 2 p.m. Where we're just going to sit back, relax. We'll bring 300-point teams. We'll sit down across from another player, probably play 1 or 2 games during the afternoon, or more if you want, and just take the time to really make sure that we're doing the rules correctly, and that both players fully understand how the rules work with the figures that they want to play. Then we're going to have our Merc Jet Colossal Organized Play again on Wednesday night the 6th. Possibly another play session on the show.
Good. I can do miserably again like I did this past weekend.
But that will be under the new rules.
That doesn't feel like it's improving my situation.
It is constructed, and it is 500 points. I know how you love non-300 point games. That's sarcastic. He hates that.
No, actually, I like them, but I like them to be like theme team games. You know.
Oh, sure. This is 500 point teams. 250 points must be from Marvel What If set.
The set that I just said took a merciful beating from the new rules.
This will make you a better player, Cliff. We also have Dice Masters, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Rainbow Draft that night, so check that out. And then our first HeroClix Sidekick night is September 10th. We're not going to be here.
No,
we're going to be in Poughkeepsie. I completely forgot about that. So we'll see how that goes. I'll probably have to have somebody else run that. So.
Yeah.
But in any case, let's move on to some thought bubbles. Any movies coming up that we're excited about?
I mean, Thor and Justice League. By the way, we did not talk enough about the Defenders. Just for the record.
We didn't talk enough about the Defenders?
No, because Colleen's moment against...
Yes! I'm sorry, yes. So against Kabuto?
Kabuto, yes, and just everything. I know that the friendship is happening very slowly with her and Misty, but that was just it was everything.
And Misty gets her arm cut off?
Yes, which is a comic book thing, yes.
I know.
Yeah.
And in the comic book, isn't she
She's
the Winter Soldier for a few issues or something?
No, she's got the cybernetic arm.
Yeah, she's got the cybernetic, but doesn't she have Cap shield at some point? There's not an issue that just came out recently?
I feel like Fearless Defenders, maybe she did that, something like that.
Anyway, man, I love her as an actress. I love the portrayal of her character. I want more of her as a vigilante.
Well, we're going to see that because, what is she going to... She has to retire from the Force. She lost a limb.
I hope so. And I hope her and Colleen... You know what's funny is...
the way Colleen was talking to her, Danny owns this hospital, and they have special resources.
Yeah.
So that, I was like, cybernetic arm?
She's getting a cybernetic arm, and
when she reports back to Danny, he's like, how is she? It's like, she's strong. I love that. The women had great moments in this, and I really appreciated that. You know, especially when first of all, Misty was like, I'm just not taking this garbage. Y'all left me behind. You locked this door. And Misty fought her way from that parking garage to that building because she's like, I am not having it. I don't know what's going on here. But the theme there prior to Misty is strong, for me, Misty is brave.
Yeah.
Because she knew damn well this involves mysticism, superpowers, and things.
And she's like, I'm going to stop this guy with a sword.
Yes, and she threw herself in the way to protect Colleen. Yeah. And then, of course, Colleen was able to actually fight and defeat her master. I mean, I was just like so stoked, you know? And so I like that moment. And even Claire. While Claire's with them, Claire takes two normal guys, two henchmen out by herself. Yeah. I was like, yes. And I was like...
That whole sequence in that room was great.
Even leading up to it was great. When Claire said, Colleen, she's like, I know you can fight, and that's why I need you with me. If anything goes wrong, I need you to help protect me. Yeah. I was like, yes. I was happy. That's what I really want to talk about. I really want to talk about the unsung heroes of that show. And absolutely the supporting cast kicked butt.
And I hope going forward there's more cross mingling between the shows.
A little bit would be nice.
The characters will come across.
You know what I thought was, you know what I have mixed feelings about, but I really enjoyed it. I watched it like 3 times. Jessica going to get Patsy. And Daredevil coming to the rescue. I was angry that Daredevil had to come to the rescue, but I loved the scene at the same time. There's just this excitement that he has shown up. He is in full gear, you know. And of course, Jessica doesn't have the fighting skills. She's just got all this super strength. I feel like Jessica got her due back twice. The car was one of them. Yeah. Driving the car into the restaurant was great. And
pushing the car into the restaurant.
Yeah, pushing the car into the
restaurant.
She
pushed the car into the restaurant.
Yes. You know, it's like Jessica's strong. What did Madame Gal call her? The Indomitable Woman?
I think so. Oh, and she names them all.
Yeah, or the star, because she said the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. The indestructible man, the Iron Fist. And I think she called her the Indomitable Woman or the Stubborn Detective. I can't remember what she called her.
It was great.
But at the end, there's the elevator incident because, you know, like, Elektra's like, everyone's going to die here with us, man.
Oh, yeah.
And she power leaps up, grabs the rope, and holds the...
And rescues Luke and Danny.
Yes, and I was like, yes, Jessica.
The one thing that bothered me was that she lets, after they climb up, she lets go of the elevator, and then we never see the elevator crash down at the bottom while Elektra and Daredevil are fighting.
I mean, I guess it happens off camera. Like, that's what we just have to believe.
But they're literally fighting, like, 20 feet
I know, but
there.
we're distracted by other scenes.
We didn't even mention the dragon skeleton, by the way.
Right, like that. Oh, I started to talk about that. Like so this whole thing. I think they're trying to get a portal back to Kung Lao. His freaking fist connects with all those Kung Lao writings, and all it does is expose an old cavern from an old creature from Kung Lung that made it to our realm for whatever reason. That they're gonna harvest its freaking bone marrow or something so they can stay immortal. And I was just like, this plot is. Okay, but
so when he's fighting her, I'm like, man, Danny, you're just gonna open that door in like 2 minutes, and then literally like a second later, he goes to punch her, and she like grabs his fist and shoves it through the thing, and I was like, no. And then when it's revealed that it's a giant dragon skeleton, I was like, whoa. At first, I was like, what? And then I was like, dragons, this is cool.
And then Madame Gao again, who's great by the way. Just I can't specify how much I love her.
It's so funny. I didn't like her in Iron Fist. I didn't like the way her character was using Iron Fist.
Do you still feel that way?
No, I thought in Daredevil and in
because now when I look back, I like her more in Iron Fist.
No, I like
because I feel she's very much the same character from Daredevil to this. I
don't think she's a different character. I just like
even her weakest moments from Iron Fist are reinforced here. When Baku is like, "What? We don't speak anymore." She's just like, because you know he had her kidnapped.
Right.
You know, I thought it was great. I'm sorry, I've loved her. I loved her in all the series. That manipulative wench. I love
really
her.
Don't like Iron Fist.
You know. I get it, but let's not take away from her. She was
no,
really
I
good.
don't. I'm saying is I didn't like her in Iron Fist, but I think she was I think she was amazing in Defenders and was great in all the other scenes of Daredevil and stuff that she was in.
I love how she was trying to challenge the Iron Fist. He's doing the fist, and she was doing her little telekinetic move that she does, and the fist caught her. And she was like, whoa, I love that. By the way, I know she lived. I know she did. Did you see her sneaking around?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, she found a way out.
Can I just say, I miss Wilson Fisk.
I feel like we'll see him.
I hope so.
Listen, he didn't sit there and start staring at the wall like he had stared at the wall when he was a teenager for no freaking reason. We're going to see, I have a feeling he'll show up to torment again.
You know what I would love is if he, and then they'll never do this. I would love if he showed up in a Spider-Man movie and Daredevil had, and like Daredevil had to like they had to team up a little bit, or at least Daredevil had to tell him how he dealt with him in the past.
I want the storyline from the comic where Spider-Man is like, oh man, Kingpin is really rough. Whoa, who is Daredevil? Why are you trying to kill him? That's what I want. Let's see that story where it gets crazy. You know? Or how about even the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s where they weren't allowed to even throw a fist, and and Punisher is straight up like, I'm just going to kill Kingpin, and Daredevil and Spider-Man are like, what?
I just think that would be so cool, but they'll never do that. Like, I think they've already said
okay, are you finally with me? Are you finally with me that there appears to be way too much division between the TV series and the movies, other than the conceptual shared universe?
Currently, yes.
Right. I mean, I hope that changes, but it doesn't feel like it's changing. I felt a hard divide here.
I think that Avengers Infinity War and Avengers 4 will tell us whether or not they're really going to embrace. The other thing is even within the TV, is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going to cross over with Inhumans at all?
Yeah.
By the way, are we excited about anything? Apparently, we're not excited about what opens this week. Or next week.
The IMAX of the Inhumans.
Yeah.
I'm not excited. I'm just not.
Are you going to go see it in IMAX?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Do you feel incentivized to see it in IMAX?
I feel like I have a duty to go see it in IMAX to tell people whether or not to go see it in IMAX.
I guess we have a duty, but who's paying us for that duty? Hey.
we need a Patreon or subscribe. We do have a subscribe button on Twitch, so
yeah. Well, we need a Patreon too. We got to do things.
So all right, have we covered Defenders enough?
I think we did. I just felt we just weren't giving it enough.
No, I agree. Thank you for bringing it back up. So on that note, thank you guys for watching. We kept it close to 2 hours today, so hopefully
we're doing way better.
We're going to try to do that again in the future. And next week, I think we're going to do possibly some gameplay, maybe for the next 2 weeks, but we'll see. On that note, I'm Tony Cox.
And I'm still Clifford Parmenter.
And you've been watching. You've been reading.
You've been watching Read, Watch, Play. Don't forget to tweet us. Have a great week.
Good night.